that group, what came out of that was a book called Wise Aging. And it's a wonderful curriculum. And it includes meditation and something called focusing, which surprisingly I've also been trained in. That group got me to begin thinking about aging differently. And that basically I'll say it was, I think about it as a paradigm shift from thinking about aging as a process of decline to thinking about aging as a process of possibility. This is really new. We are a new kind of aging, as Paula had said. And it is really exciting. What is this? And just to say, well, two things, and I don't want to forget it. One is aging is part of living. Every stage in our life has developmental tasks, as the sociologist Erik Erikson would say. Every stage has developmental tasks, has some success and not so much success, and everything in between. And Erikson said those last two stages have to do with generativity, which would be a successful completion of that age, being engaged, versus stagnation, which I don't think any of you are doing because you're here. And the last one is, it would say, ego integrity. Ego integrity is a little bit of the old psychological terms, but an integrity of self, a sense of wholeness and meaning versus despair. And we know, as both Paula and Carrie were saying, we know the things that can help us to have a more successful experience of our lives and to be in a place of self-integrity, of feeling that wholeness and my life makes sense. There were difficulties, there was this, I regret this, but given all of it, it made sense. Carrie, I want you around because you have just sort of blown my mind with, I need to think about dementia differently. 10 years ago, I was thinking about aging differently. And now there'll be a new understanding, a new paradigm, a new approach around this part of aging, which is, from all the wise aging groups I've done, this is everyone's biggest fear, right? Dementia. So as I begin to go off, I want you. So thank you for that. Okay. So I'm a clinical social worker by training. I work for Westchester Jewish Community Services. It is a fabulous organization. You should get to know us. I am grateful for the opportunities it has given me. We have a lot of different kinds of programs. I do have some brochures with me. I'll put them on a table. But they've given me the opportunity to develop these meditation groups and to develop wise aging groups. I think we have about 6 or 7 of them going. One now is meeting for 4 years. A new one is starting. But they've been fabulous. They've been fabulous. Okay. So I was supposed to talk a little bit about mindfulness. You've heard a lot there's been a lot of talking. So I'm going to shift gears and I'd like us to have a little bit of an experience, okay? So you've been sitting for a long time, first of all. Everyone, just take a breath. If you need to stand up, stand up. Give a little, if you just want to, you know, you need a stretch, something, just see what your body needs for a minute, you know. If you do want to stretch, you can go with me and, you know, there's a $100 bill up there, or a piece of Godiva chocolate, or some cute person of the other or the same sex. So you're just reaching, and a little bit of just stretching back, and just give your spine a little twist. And my favorite is the yoga wake up. Give your head a little, stay awake, because what's under your skull is your brain. So we stimulate a little bit, right? Okay. And a big, because when you breathe out, you make room in your body for more new breath to come in. When everyone says, just take a deep breath, don't focus on the inhalation, focus on the because your body is going to know to breathe. But we often, when we are tense, we hold our breath. It's protection. And then there's not so much room for the next new breath, the new moment, the new oxygen. So if you let it go, let me hear you, open your mouth. Thank you. Then there's room for really taking in more of what we need. It's a great metaphor for letting go of that which is completed and making room for the new to come in. And there's always new. Because life, I learned a long time ago, someone said to me, if it's alive, it changes and it moves. As long as we're alive, this moment is different from that moment. There's changing and there's movement. You know, you may be a planted flower, but when the sun is out, you're going that way. Okay. So take another couple of breaths. Sort of get reconnected a little bit. Notice where your feet are. Where are your feet? Your right foot, your left. If you don't know, wiggle your toes, you'll know. Okay? Where your feet are. And imagine that you're about to stand up. Just about to. And you will feel a little pressure in your feet against the ground. You can feel the ground under you. Always the support. And just checking in with your right knee and your left knee, because we often have little difficulties with knees as we get older. And noticing the feel of the seat of the chair under you. Comfortable, soft, hard, little lumpy, tired of sitting. But what is that? And how it supports you, too. Support of the ground, support of the seat, support of the back of the chair. You can just sort of check in. Which parts of your back are touching that chair? Isn't it nice to have so much support? And the breath. As long as we are living in this form, the breath breathes through us. Amazing. You don't have to work at it. Your body and the breath know just how to dance together. Right? Yeah. So kind of saying hello to yourself again after hearing so much stuff. And if you're willing, just to take a moment to ask yourself, how are you right now? Tired, ready to leave, bored, thinking, is she really doing this? Just, how are you? Because if you don't know how you are, you don't know what you need. Or what is right for you at this moment. So just kind of connecting how you are. And another question. How has it been being here and listening to these people speaking? Have there been surprises? Has it been boring? The new information. What's it been like being here? Has this met your expectations, or there's some disappointment? Or something, a question you really want to ask? How's it been? You've been here an hour and a half, something, right? And lastly, if there is one thing that you've heard that you would like to take home with you, you want to remember, that's really struck you. You're going to put that in your pocket. Maybe there are a few things. Or maybe there are one or two that really matter. So, but make a note of that. When you're ready, yeah. We'll open our eyes in a couple of minutes, or many of you already have your eyes open, it's fine. But before we do a next step, one last instruction, if it feels okay to you. To take a moment to appreciate the fact that you brought yourself here. That there is some part of you that is interested in learning, in growing, in evolving. Not everyone is so, not everyone always has that. But really appreciating your own efforts, your efforts at getting here, and that part of you that is wanting more. More information, more joy, more wisdom, more awareness, more living, which, by the way, meditation will offer you. More living as you become more aware of the living that you are in fact doing. Okay, so remember that one or two things that you want to put in your pocket and take home. You remember? Yeah? That's all. So, if it's okay, why don't you just mention it to someone near you. Tell them what you're going to take home and hear what they are going to take home. Well, yeah. And I'm asking you to do that. Anyone have an idea why I'm asking you to share that? Besides being a pain in the neck? Please.
When you say it out loud, it validates.
Yes, it does. But when you say it out loud to another person, it is heard. And the two of you have a moment of engagement and connection. You want to develop community? Get real. Have real discussions. Share your experience. And notice how uncomfortable that might have been. And did you really listen to the other person? And did you feel heard? So yes, it validates, it helps you remember. And it's a possibility that we can use all the time of let's talk to each other. What has mattered out of this for you? Because that's important. And you came with someone, you're saying, yeah, what mattered to you? What has meaning? Okay? So, just want to say two more things. Meditation is not about looking at your navel. It's not about going, It's about developing skills that help us to bear our lives. Skills of clarity, of compassion, first for ourselves, because we are the toughest on ourselves. If we're not aware of what is happening, of how we are, well, let me put it the other way. When we are aware, there's that thought that keeps coming for the last 30 years, I'm still dealing with my mother with blah, blah, blah. Okay, so it just keeps on coming up. All right, take a breath. One of my favorite teachers, Sylvia Borstein, says, put your hand on your heart and say, sweetheart, it's okay. You're still working it out. It's a tough thing. Okay. When you know what's going on, you can see how to be with yourself in a kind and effective way. I am a very practical person. I know that meditation develops capacities of awareness, of concentration, of wisdom, of power. It gives, these are meditation and mindfulness practices help you gain power and peace. I'm not interested in control. I'm interested in power. And when we can change our thoughts, and when we can open our hearts, and when we have that moment, I'm doing that. Is that useful or not? Maybe I can shift gears. Or I can't shift gears, so that's a suffering, difficult moment. Let me take a breath. Sweetheart, it'll be okay, right? So, thanks, guys.
While we're collecting questions, if you have, or comments, or questions really. I want to take a minute just to open up this group of people here. I want to call it a panel. I want to call it a coffee talk. To ask you the question that Ruth just put to. You can put yourself. What is the thing you want to take home, put in your pocket from what your colleagues have said? This doesn't seem to work.
You switched it off yourself.
Oh, I have to turn it on. There we go. Good.
Okay. Right?
Yeah.
Can I get two things? Okay. That people with dementia have a purpose. We might not be able to divine what it is, but that this is not random behavior. They have something in mind. So that's really useful. And the other thing is, sweetheart, it's okay. Useful in many situations.
Starting with when Ruth said, meditation is not about looking at your belly button or chanting Om, but that it's about being able to manage your own life. I think that's super helpful. And I think Paula just brought so much. She just really kind of threw the door wide open of, kind of the possibilities that are out there for older adults. Obviously, I'm super focused on people with dementia. Sometimes I forget that older people can be totally normal. I mean, it's a little odd. Like when they remember, I'm like, whoa, something must be wrong. But just being able to continue to engage with older adults who don't have dementia and recognize that they have the same needs oftentimes as people with dementia.
So I think I already said that you blew my mind in some ways, and I'm really wanting to learn more from you about how to be in a different relationship to the whole idea of dementia. And I'm so grateful, Paula, that you put together so many concepts, ideas, research. So I just am filled with appreciation for what you, how you put that. So I'm grateful for that, and thanks for moderating.
I think I want to add one, which is that everything that all three of you have presented, the things you do and the things that you brought to the table today, are hard to quantify. Paula, you've found people who are quantifying them, and you've broken that down for us and interpreted it in ways that are useful and meaningful. But 10 years ago, everything that transpired here would have been considered fluff. And now we know, and fortunately, much of the industry knows that this is really the essence of the thing, and the hard stuff, the getting people fed, the getting the transportation issues, those are all essential ways of focusing on this important task of living life with quality. So thank you for that. Yeah. And then we got
I just want to quickly add that when I began meditating or was first exposed to this 40 years ago, you didn't talk about it. You know, it was woo-woo, so weird, blah, blah, blah. And now so much has been quantified about the development of new neural pathways, of more gray matter, how these kinds of contemplative practices really change the brain structure, brain activity, and the body. Yeah.
All right, so I do have some questions, and they're good questions. So I want to ask. I think probably the people you have a sense of the institutions, Paula, that are leading the way or dragging their feet on issues of moving from a failure to thrive model to one that enables dignity. And Carrie, you have that kind of rich, thick, descriptive, anecdotal experience of that. I would really love to hear from both of you how to get the healthcare system to move, I'll add the word further away from a failure to thrive model to enable one that makes room for dignity as its cardinal virtue.
Well, a couple things are going on in healthcare that kind of speak to this, and one is that model you have probably heard called patient-centered care or shared decision-making, in which you never really ever again want to hear the phrase doctor's orders. Like, I'm paying you, we can make but I need your expertise. We can make this decision together, and actually, I will make the decision guided by your expertise, and I need your information, but it is my decision. So I think that makes, as that gets more widely adopted, that makes healthcare more responsive to individuals. I'm also going to bring up this concept I haven't really heard of much lately, called the dignity of risk. I think many senior programs, residential complexes, and the healthcare system itself are over-focused on safety. Sure, it's important, but is it the driving concept that overrides